Boom, let's do it. Welcome to the first edition of the Xevi Had a Problem podcast. For those of you who do not know, my name is Xevi, and I'm usually known for saying so-and-so had a problem, but more like so-and-so had a problem. And then I proceed to tell you their problem in story form. That being said, this podcast is going to be a little bit different versus just straight up stories. Is going to be stories, but versus just straight up fact after fact in the story, you're going to get a little more commentary, a little more opinions from myself and my producer, my sister Menda. Shout out to my sister for helping me with this, and shout out to everyone watching, because without you guys listening to the stories, then we wouldn't be here today, of course. And by be here, I mean everywhere. YouTube is going to have a video version of the podcast and you can listen to it there. That being said, let's just jump straight to it. You know what I want to talk about? So I'm watching this video one day of LeBron James just emptying the clip at Stephen A. Smith, just yelling at bro, talking out the side of his neck. Now, for those of you that don't know, LeBron James, basketball player, greatest of all time, depending on who you ask. Stephen A. Smith, very popular commentator. Now, LeBron James is about 6'7", 250. You got to imagine the optics. LeBron is bearing down on Stephen A., just yelling. It reminds me of a story Iman Shumpert was telling. Iman Shumpert, also a basketball player. He played with LeBron James. In fact, Iman Shumpert says one day he's playing with LeBron. Everyone's quiet, crowd's quiet. It was a heated moment in the game. And LeBron looks Iman in the eye and says, "Iman, go over there." He yells at him. Everyone looks at Iman Shumpert, the crowd, the other team. What does Iman Shumpert do? He goes over there. You don't question LeBron. He said LeBron just be getting in that mode sometimes. He said LeBron just be passionate sometimes. So it's not out of malice. He just be passionate. So he's showing that passion to Stephen A. again. And it had me thinking, damn, what do you do if you're Stephen A. Smith? Because to take things a little bit further, LeBron wasn't just yelling at Stephen A. for no reason. Stephen A., again, he's a commentator, and he's talking about LeBron James's son one day, Bronny James. Bronny James also plays in the NBA. I think he's a pretty good player. Some people would debate with me about that. Some people don't think Bronny James is ready for the NBA. Stephen A. Smith being one of those people. So Stephen A. saying Bronny ain't that good. Okay, it's Stephen A.'s job. He's a commentator. It kind of makes sense. LeBron doesn't get mad at this, though. Stephen A. is also known to talk crazy about LeBron. He says LeBron, he cool, but he not Michael Jordan. LeBron, you never see him get too heated about that. You don't see LeBron comment about that. But one day, Stephen A. Smith decides, what if I just combine the two? He says, Bronny ain't that good. Bronny in the NBA because of LeBron James. LeBron, I'm speaking to you as a father. Your boy, trash, your boy. And this is when LeBron says, all right, now you got a problem. So being Stephen A. in that moment, you're getting yelled at by LeBron. I feel like the optics look a little crazy if you start yelling back. Because if, for instance, somebody walks over to you guys and says, hey, what y'all folk arguing about? And you say, well, you know, I'm a basketball commentator and I was talking about that man's son. I mean, if you're talking about someone's parenting their son, when you start getting into that realm, you start to automatically look like the bad guy, right? So what do you really say back? Well, Stephen A. doesn't really say much back. He just kind of nodding there, and it looks very passive. So people automatically say, okay, Stephen A., you look soft. Stephen A. comments on that on Stephen A.'s show. Again, Stephen A. Smith, commentator. Stephen A. says, LeBron was in fact talking to me about his son. He was saying, you know, when I was coming at him as a parent, he didn't really like that. Stephen A. said, I understood LeBron's perspective. Stephen A. was very grown up about the situation. Stephen A. then says, but I wish LeBron came at me afterwards. I wish LeBron basically didn't sun me in front of all those people. That's all I got to say. People nodded their heads and said, okay, Stephen A., you soft. And again, I said, God damn, what can you possibly say if you're Stephen A. Smith? I either got to yell at bro back. I got to either yell at 6'7", 250, or I either got to sit there and take it.
Didn't they say the force of him doing a dunk was like getting hit by a freight train?
They said the force of LeBron James dunking indeed was the equivalent of getting hit by a freight train.
You heard Stephen A. Smith's skinny body getting hit by a freight train?
I'm saying you never want to get in that mode. That's for sure. You don't want to get LeBron in that mode. Maybe you could yell at him back a little bit, but if he start getting a little closer, okay, I don't care who you are. That's when you got to back down a little bit. Come on, let's be real. Let's be real. But what I'm saying is maybe you got to keep it in the middle. Maybe you got to... Let me explain my point a little further, because I'm all for being the grown-up in the situation, and I'm all for being reasonable in a situation. But when it starts affecting your career a little bit, when it starts running into what you do as a job, it can start to get a little quote-unquote dangerous. Because Stephen A. is known for his brash takes, how loud he be, how he gets to say whatever he wants and do whatever he wants. Well, all the comments I see on Stephen A. stuff, and to be clear, nobody's hating on either of them. Nobody's saying Stephen A. is in the wrong. Nobody's saying LeBron is in the wrong. It's just one of those moments. But all throughout the comments I'm seeing of Stephen A. explaining his side of the situation, people are saying, you soft. Stephen A., you just scared. You didn't want to this and that. So it got me thinking, okay, so if Stephen A. ever wants to speak about LeBron James again, depending on what he says, people are going to say all sorts of things. If he says something harsh about LeBron, people are going to be like, ooh, we know you're scared. You better watch out. If he doesn't speak about LeBron in general, people are saying, oh, so you really that scared, Stephen A.? You're not going to do your job and talk about LeBron? If he starts saying something crazy about Bronny James, again, same thing. But he really could have felt like he was just being the grown up in the situation, where he's just like, okay, I understand LeBron's perspective, and let me just be real. Let me just say, okay, chill. Because it has me thinking of Jermaine Cole. For those of you who don't know, Jermaine Cole is a very popular rapper. Top 3, depending on who you ask, next to Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Drake and Kendrick Lamar, one day, get into a beef, as many of you may know. For those of you that don't know, though, Jermaine Cole was a part of that beef at one point. Jermaine Cole backed out, though, very early. Now, let me not use the term back out. Let me backtrack. J. Cole decided to remove himself from the beef very early. And now, as many people stated, this was a very smart move, because J. Cole wasn't quite in the heat of the beef like that. This was really a Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing. Drake and Kendrick Lamar despised each other for many years. J. Cole kind of friends with the both of them. Kendrick Lamar, in his disses to Drake, mentions J. Cole's name. So J. Cole decides, okay, let me mention you back, Kendrick. This is hip hop. We got a diss. J. Cole comes back at Kendrick. Everybody goes, ooh, okay, J. Cole. Then J. Cole almost immediately goes on stage and says, you know what? Let me be the bigger person. That wasn't really in my heart to say all those things about my friend Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is a fantastic rapper. And people said, stop, J. Cole, let me stop you right there. You soft. J. Cole said, hold on, let me explain a little bit further. This isn't really my beef like that. This is really between Drake and Kendrick. I'm just kind of doing this for my fans. It don't really fit. People said, J. Cole, you soft. So again, I said, God damn. What do you do if you're Jermaine Cole in that situation? You can't be the bigger person. So again, it starts going into your career a little bit. Hip hop is known for brash, bravado. For those of you that don't know what that means, I can't tell you off the top of my head. You're going to have to do a little Google search. Actually, we have Menda here to help us with that. What does bravado mean? Look that up for the people.
I don't know, but just to further add to your point.
Okay, yeah.
He was kind of being a little sorry on stage.
J. Cole, you think he was being a little sorry?
I don't know. I'm talking about, of heartfelt from the bottom of his
heart. He was saying from the bottom of my heart. He said words like from the bottom of my heart. That is true.
LeBron or Kendrick Lamar, one of the greatest to ever use a microphone.
That's a little, yeah. Maybe, you know what? Maybe too many words were combined in that. Maybe if you say one of the greatest to touch the mic, one instance. Maybe if you say heartfelt, sincere apologies. Okay, but when you start combining heartfelt, sincere apologies, he's one of the greats to touch the mic, I feel like that's when people are going to start going, whoa. again, I'm all for it. I'm all for whatever is true to you, what's in your heart, you say it. If that's what you feel like saying, that's what you feel like saying. I respect it. Personally, it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. He probably didn't know to the extent that people would take it and say, yo, Jermaine, you are absolutely soft.
Because it goes against the principles of hip hop.
It goes against the principles of hip hop in many people's eyes. Same thing, again, for Stephen A. Him being a brash, bravado person in his commentary, him saying what he wants when he wants, and then not really doing that in person when somebody confronts him. But to go a little further, J. Cole then drops a song after that. He drops a song after that moment explaining the situation a little further. And he says, look, I can rap, y'all. Don't get it twisted, I can rap. But I just didn't feel like doing all that in that situation. And the crazy part about it is during that song I'm talking about, that boy was rapping his ass off. Hey, nobody can deny that. J. Cole in that song was rapping his ass off. But the things he was rapping about, people wasn't really rocking with it. They said, Jermaine, you soft, but now you saying you not soft? Jermaine, go stand over there. And his career, I don't want to say...
it was corny. You know, like, at the end of the day, bro, like... I don't know. It's those people who, like, when they lose a fight, but yeah, I almost had him.
No. You see what I'm saying? No, I'm not taking it like that. I'm just saying, like...
That's how I take it. He could have just closed his mouth.
That's what people saying. People saying you could have just closed your mouth. And
yes, we think that you're smart. It's a funny meme.
What if he's being real? Because Jermaine can't rap. He's basically saying, like, I would have been there. Like, I could have done that. Like, y'all don't understand. Like, I'm not apologizing because I was scared to go against him. I could rap. That's what he's saying. But he's just saying, like, I did not want to. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what he's saying. I'm telling you what he's saying.
Bro, get in the field. Like, get in the field and be quiet. For God's sake.
That's what he's saying. But if it's not true to your heart, then like what? Regardless. After that song, and people are saying, you could have kept that, he just recently dropped another song. The song, again, very good. And I'm saying objectively. Subjectively, I think the songs are very good. I think J. Cole's a very good rapper. But objectively, rap-wise, you can't really deny his flow. You can't really deny like where he's coming from with his bars. You never really could with J. Cole. The boy could rap. And I'm sure everyone can agree with that. But I'm looking at the views when the song first dropped. The new song is called Clouds, by the way. The new song J. Cole dropped about how many weeks ago? Amanda, was it? 2 weeks ago. It's called Clouds. If you didn't know, J. Cole dropped a song 2 weeks ago. Well, this is my point. Listen closely. It got about, when I checked it out a week ago, I think it was about like at 2 million views or so. Man, what's the song at right now?
4.1.
So it's at 4.1 million views right now. And for J. Cole, for as good as that song is, and for who J. Cole is, I was like, oh man, like that's not insane. And maybe it has to do with Drake and Kendrick Lamar really taking the space for rap right now. But man, when I tell you, for those of you that don't know, J. Cole was right there. J. Cole was right there with them, like 1, 2, and 3. People would interchange them on the list. If Kendrick Lamar drops a song right now, it's not getting 4 million. If Drake drops a song right now, it's not getting 4 million. They're getting, I mean, I can't think of a number off the top of my head, but they're getting more than 4 million. J. Cole, maybe a few years ago, if I told you he got 4 million songs on a song that dropped, then you probably wouldn't believe me. But to be fair, he didn't really market the song like crazy as well. So I think his marketability in hip hop took a tiny little dive from that moment that happened like a year ago. When did the whole Kendrick and Drake beef start? That was a year ago, right? Yeah. So I think it took a little bit of a dip. In fact, I watched a couple of commentators speaking about J. Cole's new song Clouds, and they were saying similar things. They were saying, yeah, J. Cole, okay, you're doing his thing, but damn, I don't know. J. Cole, he's still not leaving a great taste in my mouth. Again, that's not what I'm saying. I said, damn, I think the song was great, and I think J. Cole deserves a fair shake, but sometimes you can't really separate how you feel about the artist by their art, and that's fair as well. So it probably sucks a little bit to be non-confrontational, and then your career takes a little dip. Because what's the other option? The other option for Stephen A is you start yelling at LeBron back. Again, 6'7", 250. You start yelling back. Now, me in that situation personally, I like to do a little mix of it, because I would say I'm a pretty tolerant person. I'm a pretty patient guy, but I got a little bit of ignorance in me. I let it seep out a tiny bit. So
got to West African.
You know what I'm saying? Got to West African. So for those of you, look, if you shaking your head a little too much while you talking to me, like maybe yelling is one thing. Maybe I'm like, okay, he's just a little hot. He's just a little heated. Let it slide. But when you start moving that neck side to side, you know what I'm saying? At certain angles, maybe if you like at a 20-degree angle when you're moving your neck, I'm like, okay, he a little hot. When you start passing that 30 range, when you start hitting that 40, 45 range, you're doing a little too much.
The velocity.
You know what I'm saying? So I gotta hold your head still. Like, whoa, the velocity, that's true. The velocity counts as well. Maybe a little slow sounds like you taunting me a little bit. So just don't move past that 40-degree range when you talking crazy. So when you start doing all that, then, I got to be a little ignorant as well. And I think that's fair, right? Maybe I'm not going as far as just outright yelling back, because I might think I'm wrong in the situation. Again, like Stephen A., he's saying, okay, LeBron felt a certain way when I started talking about his parenting. I could feel that if I'm Stephen A. I might tell him, LeBron, lower your tone. Test the waters a little bit. Don't go too crazy. Again, 6'7", 250. Test the waters a little.
That's testing the waters.
No, test the waters. Test the waters. You can't go too crazy.
The waters?
He's passionate. He yelling at you in front of like 100,000 people. He don't care about your well-being. He's waiting. He's waiting for you to do something crazy. He waiting for you to act up. First things first. Listen closely. Don't get close to him. Don't cross the boundary that you're at. Okay, do not take a step forward. Okay, stay where you're at. Don't make any sudden movements. All right. So you yell at him a little bit. Don't raise your octave too high. All the real ones know what I'm saying. If you thinking I'm soft for this, then go ahead. Go yell at LeBron. Go yell at someone 6'7", 250. But I'm just trying to give you some game. Okay. So you keep your distance. Okay, and you raise your voice to an octave that's not too high, like, hey, LeBron, pipe down. No. Halfway to let him know you're serious. LeBron, hey, lower your tone a little bit. All right, we still in person. All right, chill. Test the waters. If he says, boy, I'll do whatever I want, you might get a little bit of trouble. All right, you might be a little bit of trouble. Hey, the stakes have officially been raised, okay? Now you have two choices. You can either yell back a little further, or you can de-escalate the situation. I suggest you de-escalate the situation, because you already did what you did. You know what I'm saying? You're already in the mix a little bit. You're not just sitting there like, oh, you're not just like looking down, kind of like Stephen A. was doing. You're already in the mix a little bit. So you hit him with my favorite move right here. Man, all right, you ain't on nothing. Like, nah, you yelling to, nah, like, man, nah, forget all that. Nah, you doing too much. You don't even got to say anything too clear. You know what I'm saying? You just start saying words. Man, start with the man. Man, whatever, man. Man, whatever, bro. You ain't on that. Situation gets de-escalated successfully. You was in the mix a little bit. You understood what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? And you all good, okay? So that's what I mean by pouring in a little bit of ignorance in there. Same as Jermaine Cole. Maybe you don't gotta fully apologize and say those what was he saying, man? He was saying too many words at once. He was saying like, you're the greatest of all time, and you what?
He apologized in the bottom of his heart.
But yes, you gotta skip the bottom of my heart. Swear to God.
That's a quote.
You got it. Yeah. Oh man, you got to skip the bottom of my heart. Word to my dog J. Cole. You got to skip the bottom of my heart though. But he felt it from the bottom of his heart, so he's just being real. He's just being honest. But again, that career side, and maybe J. Cole took the bullet for us. Maybe he didn't know how far this would go. He didn't think people would wild out on him that much, and maybe he took the bullet from us. But from now on, I think people sort of understand, like in the rap game, in the rap space, you might want to stay away from the bottom of my heart. I apologize. And maybe you could say a little something in a song. J. Cole wordsmith, he a lyricist. Maybe he could be like, you know what? Hey, Kendrick Lamar, don't talk to me crazy. What I'm saying, baby. J. Cole the lyricist, not me. But
just the actual word there. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I apologize for stepping over the line. It comes off as tacky, unsophisticated, and it's just not G. I love hip hop too much
know he
to
said
further
that.
justify my selfish behavior. Didn't say right with my spirit. Oh God, I forgot.
He said all that?
And yeah, and if he did, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'll take that on the chin. He begged for a fade.
Don't say beg.
He begged for a fade.
I love J. Cole. Y'all gotta understand, I love J. Cole. So maybe a part of me didn't. I never listened to that. I never heard his full apology. Maybe a part of me didn't want to because I love J. Cole. And he said all of that?
He did.
Now watch the J. Cole fans. Watch the fans of music. Watch the little reset I'm doing in my head right now. But you know what? That's J. Cole. That's what's in his heart. He a chill guy. Y'all gotta understand J. Cole. He a chill dude.
He said his response was lame and goofy.
He said lame and goofy?
Goofy.
He said both?
Both?
Oh, God. Hey, look, he just thought it was a little lame. He thought it was a little goofy. Hey, have you seen a Goofy movie? Goofy wasn't that bad. He might have meant that type of Goofy. Like, Goofy is like kind of chill a little bit. So maybe he thought it was a little lame, a little chill, a little
Goofy, all right.
Damn. But yeah, so maybe you don't want to take it that far when you apologize. Maybe you keep it in the music. Maybe you hit up Kendrick afterwards. Maybe you let him know, hey, Kendrick, hey, look, we still cool. I'm not in the beef like that. It's what it is. Regardless, who knows what Kendrick would do? We know that boy unpredictable. So past is the past. It is what it is. And we move forward. And you know what this had me thinking of as well? Music in general. When I was thinking of these, I don't want to say older artists, but so more legacy artists like those J. Cole's, those Kanye's, those Drake's, those Kendricks, more legacy artists. When I was thinking about them, I thought, damn, what about all the other rappers that have came and went over the years? Think about it. Who are you really hearing about in rap that you used to, quote unquote, hear about? For instance, respectfully, Polo G. Okay, respectfully, Polo G's fantastic, great artist. I think the boy can rap. But at a certain point in his career, people started saying his sound sounded similar. People were saying, do something different than the piano beats. Same thing for DaBaby, basically. So DaBaby, people are saying, yo, your sound sounds really similar. And obviously, DaBaby did what he did. For those of you that don't know, I'm not going to get into it. Look it up. DaBaby said some things he absolutely shouldn't have said. And people weren't fans of it. So his career took more of a nosedive because of that. But before that, people were saying DaBaby, his sound all the same. We don't really rock with it. You're done. Had me thinking again, Tekashi 6ix9ine, and he's a more extreme example because he went completely broke. He got $0, okay? Respectfully. Because the thing is, boy was on top of the world at a certain point. His sound sounded really similar. Again, he had his situation as well, but he goes completely broke, $0. And I thought, wait a second, going from millions to people saying, we're not listening to your music anymore. Listen closely. This is why I say it's a scary job. It's a tough job. If people say we're not listening to you anymore, and people stop listening to you and you stop getting streams, that means you stop getting money from streams. That means you have to do something else with your life. And for those of you who are fans of hip hop, you probably know how many people have came and went with hip hop. Think for a second about all the names of people who had a couple hit songs and disappear from your space. And then what? How many things have you paid for in the past? You got a car, you got a house, and this and that. So that's what I mean by you're broke.
You got the big ass teeth?
Now hold on. See, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be here talking smack. It just sounds messy. It sounds messy, but I'm trying to speak the facts.
When I have been waiting for his downfall, I'm a patient hater.
You know what I'm saying? But now they're gonna think I'm hating. You know what I'm saying? When you say that,
it's me, not you. It's me.
And it doesn't help that I say you're broke, and that's crazy. But that's just how I talk. You feel what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get back to the point. My point is, it's a little scary that your dollars go up and down depending so heavily on if people think you're good or not. that can go for any career. That can go for many careers, but I feel like it's music, especially because of how fast albums cycle. You know, that's why Drake had an album almost every year, but he or his team are genius marketers. So they understood the, zeitgeist around music. I don't know if I used that word correctly. Yeah, look up what zeitgeist means. I'm pretty sure I can't use it in those terms, but okay.
The defining spirit or mood.
Yeah. Okay, Xevi got knowledge. Xevi be knowing words.
No, Xevi don't not be knowing too much.
Okay.
The defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history.
Oh,
as shown by the ideas and belief of the time.
Okay. Let me just keep it simple then. So, what was I even talking about?
I don't know.
So Drake and his team understood heavily how the trend goes. The trends go in rap music and music in general. And people were consuming rap at a huge clip, music at a huge clip. So Drake released an album every year. Now watch me connect this real quick. Going back to the folks that quote unquote had the same sound over and over again and people got tired of them. I'm saying, wait, why didn't that happen to someone like Drake or Kanye? Are they just more talented? Well, maybe not. Because the thing is, Drake, as you guys probably know, has had a lot of ghost writer allegations, okay? And over the past few years, Drake and Kanye West, both, the narrative around them, before their controversies and their beefs and all that, the narratives around them are their sounds were getting a little bit stale as well. Drake especially. Yeah. So even before his beef with Kendrick, for those of you that don't know, people were saying the last few Drake albums seemed a little stale. And let me be clear, it has nothing to do with commercial success and if the song is good or not. Hey, come on, let's be real. Drake be making hits. But in those hits, like the people who listen to Drake or fans of hip hop, they understand that Drake, did I say hip hops? Ooh, wildin'. Fans of hip hop understand that Drake releases about like 20 songs in his albums, shooting for a hit. So you hear one or two that's massive on the charts, but then the other 18, that's what people are saying. No, Drake, this sounds like your last song. This sounds like, so his albums, his whole body of work, people, say sounds similar to his other bodies of work. But again, it had me thinking of what they do, Kanye and Drake especially is what I'm saying, versus the other artists I mentioned, like Polo G or DaBaby. And that's collaborations. That's working with other artists. Drake's famous OVO sweatshop, where people think his OVO label is basically a sweatshop where he has artists writing for him all the time, over and over again. And a great example to give you guys is The Weeknd. When The Weeknd first started out his career, he got the Drake cosign. And lo and behold, The Weeknd comes out and says, yo, Drake stole my whole first album. Drake stole all of my songs. And I want you to go back and listen to a song called Crew Love, And I want you to, because The Weeknd's on that song. It's a song off Take Care. Is Crew Love off Take Care? Look that for me. It's a song off Take Care, I believe, with The Weeknd and Drake. And sometimes a song is so good. Okay, first of all, let me explain to you. Yeah, okay, so it's on Take Care. Let me explain to you how things usually go when a bigger artist takes your song. This is how it usually goes. You're a new upcoming artist. A huge artist says, yo, man, I rock with your stuff. That artist is huge. So you say, whoa, they rock with my stuff. They tell you, hey, come to the studio real quick. You think, oh my gosh, I'm about to get guidance. I'm about to get knowledge. I'm about to get collab songs. Oh, you about to collab, all right? Just not how you think. They call you in and they say, hey, what you working on right now? This isn't exclusive to Drake. It's not exclusive to Drake. This is just how it usually goes in the music industry. They say, what you working on right now? You bring out your little laptop. You show them what you're working on. They say, ooh, I like that one. That one's hard. In The Weeknd's case, Drake said, ooh, I like that one. That one's hard, to every song. He's saying, yeah, put that on there, put that on there, put that on there. Let me put that one on my album. Let me see that one. Let me put that on my album. The Weeknd might go at a certain point after he takes about 3. You can't really say no. This guy might propel your career. They're huge artists, and they understand that. They understand their star power. And then the Weeknd might say, hey, damn, Drake, that's like 5, that's like 6. Drake's like, no, I got you. You know that other song that we putting on my album, Crew Love? That was supposed to be on the Weeknd's album. He said, you know that other song we're putting on my album, Crew Love? Why don't we just keep your verse on it? That's not the Weeknd going over to the mic and rapping for Drake. Now, the Weeknd already made that part. Artists already make that part before. The bigger artist just lets them keep that. And then the big artist says, also, let me tell you something else. I'm going to get on your album and make your album a hit. And then you kind of really have no choice at that point. But let's go back to the point. Drake had to, in my opinion, have these artists write songs for him to stay relevant in the music space. In fact, Kanye West doesn't even hide the artists who write for him. So Kanye West openly brings in collaborations. He doesn't hide it. He openly admits that he has other artists, other rappers write for him. He says, yeah, they wrote my whole verse. They wrote a hell of a verse. And I write for them sometimes as well. I produce for them sometimes as well. Open collaboration. It's funny because people don't really give Kanye too much mess for it versus how much they give Drake. And Manda, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's because Kanye's songs are more production based. They're bigger. They're less rappy rap, super lyrical. Kanye's songs are lyrical. He do be having lyrical songs, but I feel like that production is so big in it. You can see it as like a project, like a bigger art version. Because for those of you that don't know, in hip hop, in rap, people are very, very big on authenticity. So you can't quite just go out there and take somebody's sound, or people are going to call you fake. People are going to call you a sound stealer, for lack of a better term. In pop, it's a little bit different. You can openly say, hey, these people write for me. These people write for me. So when you take somebody's song in hip hop, you're really taking their authentic brand and bringing it to yourself. Remember, people are saying, I got tired of such and such. I got tired of listening to DaBaby's sound, so DaBaby, you're not relevant anymore. That's DaBaby's authenticity. That's his sound. So if another rapper starts rapping like DaBaby, you're going to instantly know, oh, he's rapping like DaBaby. That's his sound. That's his authenticity. So again, Drake's basically borrowing people's authenticity for albums. Kanye borrowing people's authenticity, but very open with it. Nobody really complained. But yeah, in Kanye's case, he's leaning towards the pop space where it's okay for him to collab with so many artists. In Drake's case, sometimes it may feel less like a collaboration, like he's just getting people to write for him a little bit, versus him completely embodying that person's sound. I got another example for you in a moment.
Is it Ja Rule and Tupac?
Oh, that's a good one.
That bandana fries me.
People heated up at Ja Rule, especially for sounding a lot like Tupac, for looking like Tupac. He had the whole embodiment of Tupac. It was just a little over the top. Now, Ja Rule had a lot of pop songs as well. People aren't too mad at it. It's just
the songs were a hit. Okay,
the songs were hitting. But like, let's say Drake takes a melodical song, and it doesn't help also that Drake denies that he does all this. So all of this is alleged. Respect to Drake, all of this is alleged. All this is alleged. It's just hundreds of people saying that Drake stole my song. It's just alleged.
Drake stole my song too.
Drake said, get us some paper. Drake stole a better song too. But in you see, girl, where am I at with this story? Like, what?
I can tell you.
It's kind of like a caricature when Drake does it, so it's a lot more obvious. Kanye is basically like taking people's artistry, people helping Kanye write, and making it his own. So it's less recognizable. But for instance, when Drake came out with a song that was like a huge scandal, a song that sounded remarkably similar to an XXXTentacion song. That's when Drake gets a little exposed to the world. For those of you that don't know, XXXTentacion, very popular rapper who passed away. He comes out with a song, and it was huge. It was called Look at Me. But XXXTentacion at that point was in jail. Drake comes out with a song that sounds similar to XXX's song, and people were quick to point it out. It embodied XXXTentacion. It sounded like his flow. Man, what song was that? Can you look up the song name for me that Drake had? It embodied XXX's flow. It was everything XXX. And then lo and behold, XXXTentacion gets out of jail and he becomes a very popular artist. So, people start listening to both songs and start saying, wait a second, Drake, this song sounds very familiar. It got so bad to a point where Drake had to do an interview. And he says, XXXTentacion, I don't know who that is. I'm Drake. So people were like, nah, we got to hear from XXX. And XXXTentacion was never afraid to speak his mind. So XXXTentacion does an interview and says, oh, Drake never heard of me? Well, that's funny because Drake actually called a producer of mine, told him, hey, man, I love your sound. I love your song. Come over to the studio. Does that sound familiar? Okay, producer says, man, I'm about to work with Drake. I'm about to get lit. Drake says, hey, there was somebody you work with, XXXTentacion. That song sounded really good. The producer's like, yo, he calls XXXTentacion when XXX is in jail. And he says, yo, Drake likes the song that we made. XXX is hype. Drake is saying, yo, producer, you want to make me a beat that sounded kind of similar to what you make for XXX? Producer says, heck yes. XXX the whole time is thinking that Drake is doing that. So when XXX gets out, XXX is going to hop on that song. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like an XXX type song. They're going to do it together. Well, Drake does not do that. And Drake releases the song on his own.
KMT.
It was called KMT. So the Drake song that sounded similar to XXX was KMT. So XXX tells that whole story.
She also said Drake mom kind of cute. She can get it.
See, that was when things got heated. And that's when things got a lot more heated. Anyway, to keep a long story short, Drake and XXX go back and forth. And this is why people believe Drake might have something to do with the passing of XXXTentacion. But let's
The timing is kind of crazy though.
The timing is wild, and the story goes a lot deeper in terms of songs and subliminal lyrics and all that. But we'll get into that another day. But before I lose my point again, let's go back a little bit further. Point being, really, this is an instance where people saw how deep Drake embodies other artists' songs. And this isn't any shade to Drake. This isn't any shade. I'm just letting y'all know what happened. But again, this is why people say Drake has an OVO sweatshop, because Drake won't let artists see the light of day. Because if he embodies an artist's song and then that artist starts to become popular and you start hearing that sound, you might have a couple questions. So if Drake embodies an artist's song, but you never hear that artist's music, then that's Drake's sound, right? But really, we get to the bigger question. Does an artist, a hip hop artist, especially because the pop artists are more open with their collaborations, as a hip hop artist, how do you stay relevant with a similar sound over and over again without people saying, oh, no, all that sounds the same, we're writing you off? You might need to embody other people's sounds. It might be a little difficult to change your flow every year. You've spent your whole career defining a flow. You came up in the game with a certain flow. Now y'all are telling me it's getting old? Hold on. I might gotta switch things up. It's a little harder than it may seem. You might have to do more outlandish publicity things when you're releasing albums. No shade to Playboi Carti, but Playboi Carti was a completely different artist years back. I'm sure many can remember when Playboi Carti was first coming out. You remember In New York, I'm Millie Rock. And that was a whole different Playboy Cardi brand. And sure, he may have just changed as a person, but dang, he changed a lot as a person, and his career skyrocketed. Now, for those of you who don't know, Playboy Cardi is a very, very popular music artist. And I don't want to say outlandish. I want to say more experimental. It gets people talking. It gets people going, wow, what's Playboy Cardi going to do next? But even with that, he still has to change up his flow very, very, very often. Artists who have very good marketing skills, you could tell which ones have very good marketing skills. Artists who have very good marketing skills understand when it's time to jump ship with a certain flow, when people are getting bored. He had that In New York, I'm Millie Rock flow, right? He had that just normal Cardi rapping flow, and then he had to change to his Cardi baby voice era. And ask the Playboy Cardi fans how many eras Playboy Cardi has had. It extends your longevity in rap. So either you got to change up your flow very drastically, or you might have to borrow from others. Kanye more open with it, Drake not so much. Anyway, point being, my fourth point in all this is, dang, that's tough. It's just tough. It's just hard. And I really wanted to do music way back in the day. But thinking about this fact, I wonder if it would still be something that I'd pursue. It seems like it might be very stressful to have to keep up with the times, especially with how fast things are going now. And I sound like an unk. Like I feel, you know what I'm saying? I feel like unk at this point. Like y'all kids, all y'all be doing is y'all don't be enjoying the music. Back in the day, we had Michael Jackson, and he came out with an album once every 5 years, and people was okay with that.
What are you talking about?
Michael Jackson came out with
you're like 2 years old.
No, I'm saying, but like even in our era, and I wasn't like 2 years old when Michael Jackson was dropping music. You know what I'm saying? They gonna think I'm unk. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't. Was I born when Michael Jackson was dropping music? Like for real?
Well, it depends on the album.
It depends on the album. I'm talking about because he had albums like once every 5 years still dropping though, right?
Yeah, 1983, 1987, 1992.
And that's, I would say, like, would you say that's still most artists in the pop space today? Like Beyonce, how often does Beyonce drop albums?
I mean, not super often, but I mean now she has like her 3-part project thing.
She's more a legacy though, so
yeah, she can drop whatever she wants.
Because think about it like this. I feel like even in like that space, do you think it'd be tough if Beyonce dropped an album once a year? Like, do you think she would run out of a certain sound? You know what I'm saying?
People like the scarcity of Beyonce.
The scarcity, right?
That's what people clamor.
Yeah.
But not every artist can do that. You actually have to drop a good body of work.
Yeah, like every single time, right? With Kendrick Lamar, right? Kendrick Lamar doesn't drop very, very, very often. And people enjoy his body work. I feel like that's what Kendrick Lamar might have as benefit for himself. He drops kind of like the old unk way, once every like few years. But that's the thing. He's an artist, he might, and it might feel like I'm glazing Kendrick and like dissing Drake, but I promise you, I'm just speaking the facts as I see it. I like music for what music is. If I like a Drake song, I'll play a Drake song. If I like a Kendrick Lamar song, I'll play a Kendrick Lamar song. But, in Kendrick Lamar's case, he's an artist. When he feels like dropping a project, he will drop a project. Forget everything else. It won't be a yearly thing. It won't be 20 songs for the hit. It'll be a few songs that he truly seems to enjoy, and he'll just throw it out. It kind of gives you a leg up, in my opinion, because people know your artistry is going to be really good, so people will wait for it, and you don't have to feel pressure to stay relevant over and over and over again. You don't have to feel pressure to not fall off. I guess if I were to start, maybe that's how I do it. Dang, can new artists actually do that in this space? I wonder.
No.
Yeah, you can't really do that if you're a new artist nowadays. If you're a new artist nowadays, it feels like you got to drop over and over and over again. And damn, they all better be hits or you're done, right? You're absolutely cooked. For those of you who don't know, nowadays, well, for like the past decade, really, people drop singles. singles rather than full bodies of work, full albums for a long while. You gotta get in people's spaces.
I mean, that's what Beyonce said. Beyonce said people don't make albums anymore. It's just a bunch of singles and.
Yeah, well, that is the tough part, because if you do just drop an album out of nowhere and not many people have heard of you, it might be a little tough to get them. You know what I'm saying? Get them to just straight up listen to your album like that. And I don't think Russ gets enough credit for his single game. Yeah, I really don't think so. If y'all don't know, Russ is a rapper. Russ is an artist. And he released a single every week. Was it a week? He released a single every week for like 3 years straight, because he realized, albums not really working. Juice WRLD is a very popular person who did the same thing as Russ as well. He's not a person who just blew up overnight. Lil Uzi Vert, same thing. Lil Uzi Vert did not blow up overnight. Lil Uzi Vert, Juice WRLD, they released a single like every other day damn near for like years, a year or 2 years, until people said, ooh, I like this guy. I rock with this guy. They dropped their album. They're massive, right? Ooh, what is my point? What?
Oh, I don't know. Those boys y'all hurt.
Oh my God, I just be yapping. I just be talking versus the TikToks themselves. Lord. Point being, it's probably pretty tough to be an artist in this day and age. You got to go through many hoops. Then you got to stay relevant to keep going through those hoops. But I mean, hey, I guess that's just what it is, isn't it? I'm not saying feel bad for them folk. I'm just saying what it is. Lord. Hey, man, we all got a job. It's what it is. Hey, Lord. You know what? Damn. We're going to stop right there. We're going to stop right there.
What are you even talking about?
Yeah, we was just going. I was just going. I was just yapping. I was just going. But, you know, it's our first one. And I felt free. You know what I'm saying? I felt free to yap. Free to talk, free to say what I felt like saying, but we're going to stop right there. We're going to stop the yap sesh right there. And if you did make it this far, then thank you. Thank you very much for listening in to the first edition of Xevi Had a Problem. Like I said in the beginning, wherever you're listening, this is going to be out on all platforms. There's a video version on YouTube. Again, and Spotify, if they have that video version, I haven't checked, they're going to have a video version as well. But anywhere you can listen to podcasts, we'll be there. Another thank you to my sister, Amanda, for hopping in with me. Much appreciated for producing this one.
I'm sure I'm hungry.
Yeah, Sam, I'm going to get you some food right now. So anyway.
Oh, what?
I got you. No biggie.
I didn't say all that, but I'll take it.
No biggie. I got you. But yeah, we're going to try to do this weekly until we get some sort of structure. I also think I want to start bringing in people to interview so we can get different takes and all that. Anyway, see ya.